So next up we have Debra and Julie. I'd like to welcome both of you. So Julie is one of my co-hosts today. Julie Fitzinger, some of you heard me mention her at the beginning. She is a huge shout out and thanks to Julie for joining us today. She's a journalist and editor for the Next Avenue lifestyle coverage across the living and technology channels. She's been doing that since 2017. Her work has a strong focus on the arts. Her journalism career has included feature writing for the Star Tribune, as well as local lifestyle publications, all in the Twin Cities area, in the Minneapolis area. And she's also served as managing editor for 9 local community lifestyle magazines. And so she'll be interviewing Debra, and I'll let her introduce Debra.
Hello, Debra. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Julie. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Good to see you. I love your hat. I love your necklaces. And so I'm glad we're going to be talking about creativity today, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Great. Well, I first of all, I'd like to introduce Debra to the audience to let them know that she is an eco-friendly style icon who lives in New York City. Fashion is Debra's favorite expression of creativity, and she believes that style is healing, and where there is creativity, there are no rules, and where there are no rules, there is no fear. And we'll be talking about that in a couple of minutes. Debra's art revolves around creating textiles related to the body, hats, headgear, as you can see this morning, and other things such like that. Her emphasis for more than 50 years has been on recycling and repurposing pieces of clothing, art, and they've been shown all over the world. Debra has her MA from the University of California, Berkeley. She's taught at UC Davis, NYU, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Museum of Arts and Design, and other formidable places. Debra's an Instagram influencer, so if you're on Instagram, I encourage you to follow her because she's great. She has 33,000 followers already, so she's very popular on Instagram. She's also an ambassador for the worldwide advanced style movement. So Debra has a lot going on, and Debra, I'm excited to talk to you today. So let's start with that statement. Where there is creativity, there are no rules. Where there are no rules, there is no fear. Tell us what that means to you.
Well, I think we all know early on, if you took an art class, you were told how to draw a tree, how to draw a figure, and it was totally intimidating. So you said, I can't draw a straight line, that old quote. But the reality is we're all creative and we come at it in a personal way, and nobody can tell us what's right. So that's why I say there are no rules. Therefore, we can move ahead and be fearless because it shouldn't be any judgment. You're not doing brain surgery. If you're doing brain surgery, that's a whole other thing.
Right.
When you're being creative, I don't care if you're painting, gardening, cooking, walking a dog, taking care of a child, painting a masterpiece, or creating an embellishment for the body. It's your statement. Mm-hmm. So that's yours.
Right.
One of my favorite quotes, and I'll put it out here now so I don't forget, is by Maya Angelou.
Yes.
If you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you truly are.
Oh, wow. That's really beautiful, isn't it?
Isn't that? It's so profound because we're all trying to fit in some category that we see in a magazine or we see on TV. Forget about it.
Right.
We're never going to live up to that, and why bother?
Right. So be yourself, be whoever that is, right? Exactly.
Right. Be yourself. Yeah. Like Oscar Wilde says, be yourself, everyone else is taken. Now I'm finished with my quotes.
And those are both great ones. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about fashion and style. And you say that getting dressed is an art of play. And I love how playful you are today. You look just gorgeous. So tell us, every morning you go in front of your closet, how do you choose what to wear?
Well, I see it as a morning meditation. It's a time when I'm just quiet with myself. Mm-hmm. And I tune in and I say, who am I today?
Right.
And it's the weather, it's the activities, it's your mood, but it's first about your inner knowing. And then, I'm 74 years old. I've been doing this since I'm 3 or maybe earlier. It becomes intuitive of what's going to feel right on my body, both as a feeling and both as kind of a look that I'm going to be comfortable with. It's not so much of what I want the world to see. It's first about me.
Right.
And because that's what I have to project. If I project that with honesty, then out there people are going to give me a smile or say, hey, what a great hat, or let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I kind of use it as a friendship tool.
Right.
And living in New York, of course, people stop you and talk to you all the time.
Right. So if somebody watching this morning thinks, oh, I just go to the same sweater every day, I go to the same pair of pants every day or whatever, how could they approach their closet? Have that sense of play if this is something that they are not used to doing. What would be a couple of tips that you would share?
Well, the first thing I say that's practical is curate your closet. Don't go shopping and say, I need another blah, blah. Right. Go to your closet, rearrange it, find things that you haven't worn in a while. We all have things that move to the back that we forget about.
Right.
So do that. Right. And I often say, put away the denim, put away the black, and go for the color, the texture, the prints, and start to play. And if you're used to wearing one scarf, try wearing 2. See what it feels like. Again, you're not doing any harm. If 2 scarves seem to be too much, then you'll take one off. But it's an act of play. Have a good time.
Yeah.
And we live in such a serious world that if we don't do something as getting dressed and making it a playful act, then, we're going to start out with all this sadness. I mean, I wake up every day having listened to the news and I say, I can't take it anymore.
Right.
What am I going to do? What kind of creative act? So I'll either sit down and make something out of an egg crate or a paper bag that's sitting in the garbage, because that's what I work with. Yeah. And then I'll also get dressed and decide, what am I going to put on myself as self-expression? Because I do feel that style is healing. Not fashion, not consumption, not trends, your own personal style. That can heal us, because that's when we get very close to who we truly are. And that's what matters.
And everyone has style. And so everyone has their own style, right?
Yeah. Just like everybody has creativity.
Right. Oh, that's
like my one friend who is possibly going to be on here and maybe another time, Sheila Weinstein. She wrote a book, Moving to the Center of the Bed, after her husband passed away, how to enrich her life again. And people will often in her audience say, but I'm not creative. I don't paint. I don't draw. And Sheila would say, can you make a sandwich? I mean, making a sandwich is a creative act.
Right.
Using taste, color, texture, you're assembling it in the manner in which you want. Come on. That's important.
Right. Well, and that's great. And that's something that everybody can do, or make a batch of cookies or whatever. Just get into it.
Right.
Use your hands. Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's a creative moment. Sometimes do you think sometimes people forget what a creative moment actually can be? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We used to make candles. We used to sew. I mean, now there are so many mending groups and fix-it groups, because as we have to save the planet and become more sustainable, we're reusing and repurposing. So things have to be brought back. Our grandmothers did it all the time.
Right.
They mended, they repurposed, they made their children's suits out of their husband's suit. We have to get back to that. And it's fun. It's not out of, in a way it is dire need, because we have to save the planet.
Right.
But make it a creative, fun act.
Right. Right. And that's something I know we talked about too the other day, that you are very, very passionate about the swap shop concept. And so why don't you tell everybody about that? Because that's something that people can do where they live, with their friends, with people they haven't met yet. So let's talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, any of us can set it up. I'll either do one or a friend, or sometimes it's in a bigger venue. And you just sat now with email. It's so easy. Or you can post it on Instagram. And people just bring things that they no longer want, usually up to like 10 items, let's say. And we just put it out on a table. There's food and drink. You meet people, whether they're my age or they're younger, and it becomes a wonderful social event. And you pass on things that you no longer want, and you take home a few items without having spent a penny. And it doesn't go in the landfill. And then whatever doesn't get swapped at that, then it goes to a thrift shop.
That's
And
great.
it's really fun. And I say, Mr. Macy's does not need my money. And I don't need, another navy blue suit with brass buttons or something. It's more fun to go to a swap meet when you don't know what's going to be there.
Right. And like you mentioned,
The fun is in the search.
In the search and getting to meet people of all ages as well. That because you've mentioned that many of your friends are much younger. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a social gathering.
It's right. Exactly. And you can meet people of all ages and that you wouldn't meet otherwise, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's
exactly.
great.
Like this coming weekend at Bryant Park, which is a very big park in New York,
Sure.
the public library, with an ice skating rink. So it's called Swap and Skate.
Oh,
so
fun.
People are bringing things early, and then the swap meet will be between 1 and 3, and they're encouraging you to come with family or whatever and use the skating rink as well. It's a brilliant idea.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too, apart from the swap shop concept, I know that, you walking around in New York City, you look for things, you find little bits of whatever. Tell us, what's a day for you? What's a morning for you? You go outside and you're inspired by what? How do you start?
Well, first I'm inspired by the weather and the light. I love, New York can be dark and gray, but if it's sunny and bright. And I'm always just walking, looking for things that someone might have thrown away that I can repurpose. Mm-hmm. So, and, I'll often have projects that have been started, whether it's hat making or if I'm about to teach, I have to prepare the elements for that, or I have to gather them up. Mm-hmm. And I'm about to go to Greece next week. I have a big exhibition at La Luna's Jewelry Museum. And I'm also going to teach there. And I mostly make hats out of paper towels. So to have the class go smoothly, I have to at least prepare 2 or 3 of the elements for the students just so that they have something to work with, and then they can learn how to fold and glue the elements. Great. So I have to do that. I have to pack for that and get ready for teaching. So that's often a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Also interviews like this, speaking engagements. So I have to figure out, what am I going to wear that I can illustrate to people that, like, my necklaces are just made from twisted masking tape. When I'm bored and I need some kind of a meditation, one of the things I'll do is just twist tape. It quiets my mind. Really? I sit in silence or I listen to music. And that's what the creative process is about, especially if it's hands-on. It's a time to be quiet, to take your mind off the world and just go inside and be with yourself and be with your truth. And it doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. Twisting tape is about as low-tech and as kooky as you can get. But I love it. And I've been doing things like that for the last 55 years that are what appear to be ridiculous, but that's my art form.
Right. No. Yeah. And that's interesting that you mentioned music, because I was thinking, you seem like somebody that would maybe listen to music as you're crafting or as you're creating. So maybe tell us a little bit, like, what kind of music do you enjoy listening to when you're at work on a project? If you want a little bit of atmosphere rather than just thinking about it.
It can be classical. Of course, I love cello.
Do you?
I love all the folk songs and the rock and roll songs, whatever, from the 60s and 70s, my era. The Beatles, all of that. And so it just depends on the mood or the activity that I'm doing. If you're cooking, and sometimes you want something a little upbeat. If you're sitting there twisting tape, then you may want something very mellow. So, it's just background that kind of carries me along.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's great. And so, also thinking of how that sparks some creativity and just sort of wondering, just in general, you find joy in what you're doing, in your art and your connections with people. And if there are people who maybe aren't out and about as much as they'd like to be, how do you find joy and the spark of creativity just where you are every day?
Well, we all have things around the house that we love, so we can rearrange them, whether it's the pillows or candlesticks on your shelf or
Right.
buying different color candles,
Right.
or again, with your clothing, rearrange your clothing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, take things out of the closet and what might be your sweater drawer, make that your pants drawer or something, just so you have your hands on that stuff and you're recreating the way that it's organized.
Right.
And then just use things around the house, like a lot of what I make are just made from toilet paper rolls. This is made from Nespresso pods. I do a lot with the aluminum Nespresso pods.
Wow.
And I do a lot of workshops using the toilet paper rolls, covering it with labels, postcards, anything. Paper is very difficult for me to throw away. So I collect a lot of paper and I repurpose it into wearables. And a lot of that stuff is in museums all over the world, as mundane and as low tech as it is. And that's kind of becoming a new trend now.
Yes.
But, I started it in the late 60s. I have 3 pieces at the Philadelphia Museum now in a show that opened last month called Off the Wall, American Art to Wear. And the major piece that when you first walk in is a piece I constructed out of sisal rope and old videotape that I got from the local television station, and it's crocheted. And it's a wearable piece, it's body size, and it's the first piece that you see when you enter the show.
Oh, wow.
And another piece is one I made more recently, about 5 years ago, and it's made from used tea bags, the labels from the tea, steel wool, chocolate wrappers, and it's a piece that have big epaulets, big shoulder things, almost like wings, and then a headpiece that goes with it. And again, it's just all repurposed. Otherwise, it's stuff that would just go in the garbage.
So,
and to me, it's so beautiful.
Oh, well, it sounds gorgeous. So you have all these items. I just have a kind of a process question. So the tea bags, the chocolate wrappers, and you look at them, and then how did you decide what they would become? Was it just a vision you have in your mind, or you think about it for several days and just kind of, what is the process of that? That's fascinating.
Well, I always say, like when I'm walking down the street and I see something in the street, we kind of have a relationship. It speaks to me and it says, don't pass me by. Let's be friends. Yeah. So I'm always acquiring things, and then I allow it to speak to me. And it says, do me. I mean, that's how I started with the paper towel hats, the roll of paper towels. It's a particular kind that has no texture, but very cloth-like. Oh, okay. And one day it just said, okay, pick me up and do something with me. So intuitively, that's what happens with me. I make friends with all that stuff. So it's not even an intellectual process or a difficult process. It's just a matter of being quiet, being with it, holding it, caressing it, and seeing what comes out of it, because it really is a relationship process.
And what you're describing are the simplest of things that anybody can have with them or find or whatever,
Totally.
That's fascinating. So making art for you, it's not not a big expense. It's not, it's just simple things that need another life, and you give them another life.
Right. Like, to me, it's too easy to go buy a yard of silk and try to make something pretty. And I'm not about pretty. I like unusual and unique. Yeah. And so to me, even when I was in graduate school working with these materials, part of it was saving money at that time. But it was more that these are the things that spoke to me. Where that comes from, but that's who I am. So that's what I do. I honor that, because rather than try to be something I'm not, this is who I am.
Right. Oh, I love that. That's great. So let me see. I was just thinking of it. Maybe tell us a little bit about Greece, because I know like you mentioned, you're going there next week. Have you been to Greece before? Is this a new trip?
Oh, not for like almost 50 years.
Okay. And you're going to be teaching there, and you have an exhibit there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's in a fabulous museum, a jewelry museum that started out Mr. Lalunas was a really fine jeweler working in gold and gems and with the Hellenistic background and Byzantine. And then in 92, the museum was established, and he has 4 daughters. So one is the director, and they show traditional jewelry. They teach traditional jewelry, but they've also gotten into craft jewelry. So a couple of years ago, I donated a piece, because as you get older, you want to unload your art.
Right.
And then the director was in New York because every year we have something called New York Jewelry Week.
Mm-hmm.
And she came over and said, how about if we do a show next winter? So I said, fine. She was here in November. She took 3 suitcases back with all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then since I do get a lot of photographs done of me in my attire, they've installed like about 40 large photographs with the pieces. So it's really beautiful. So you just don't see a neck piece sitting on a pedestal or something, but you see it on me in action with other elements. So it's going to be really beautiful and really fun. She keeps sending me videos every morning as they keep installing.
Oh, what an exciting project. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. And so if people are following you on Instagram, I'm imagining you'll be posting when you're there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Good. So people can.
I've started to post, getting people, because so many, when you're on Instagram, people say, well, I live in Athens. Can I come? And I say, yes. I check with the museum, and they said, all you got to do is call or send them your email address so that they can send you an invitation.
Right.
So, and then people want to come to the workshop now that they hear about that. That'll be on Saturday, the 15th of February, and the show opens on the 12th of February.
Great.
And we're going to be making hats like what I have on out of paper towels.
Right. And then if people in your area, in the New York area, find your website, learn about workshops and things that you have as well, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good. Well, gosh. So, Katie, I should ask you, we have any questions for Debra?
We have a couple of comments about how amazing Debra's outfit is. Someone said they're living for your glasses, Debra. And we had an ask for a close-up of the bracelet, and then what you did, of course. And then, Debra, is there anything else about your outfit we haven't already touched on?
Well, it's all gifted and thrifted. Everything is either from a thrift shop or a swap meet. The hat, actually, the glasses were given to me too, because I did a hat thing at C Eyewear. Even the rings were gifted.
Oh, wow.
No, this one I actually bought in Spain because I had another silver ring that I liked, and I gave it away to a young friend, and then I came across this one made by a Spanish artist, and it's just wire. So, of course, I love it because it's very low tech. And this one actually, can you see that? Was my mother's. She bought it in the early 60s in Mexico, and I just love it.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
It has like a cocoon inside that's either made from clay or stone. But
that's beautiful.
And the necklaces I told, this necklace is made from old springs that I've been carrying around for probably 30 years. And then I just bound it with paper towels and a little bit of copper paint. So I can wear it either way. I can wear it with the blue and the copper showing. I want a little more color. Or I wear it with just the silver springs dangling.
Oh, my God.
So, again, and it's all junk. Very precious to me, but the inherent value is nothing.
Right. And again, like so simple, and anybody could be sitting at home right now, look around and see what speaks to you. Develop the relationship, like you were saying earlier. What speaks to you?
One philosophy that I like to live by is the Japanese philosophy of Wabi-Sabi, which is everything in our life is 1 or 2 or 3 or all of these things. Everything is impermanent. Everything is incomplete. And everything is imperfect. And with all of that, everything is the way it should be. And if we can embrace that, then talk about resilience. Then we're not always fighting against it. I say, don't resist resilience. Just go, think of a reed that is really strong, but has the ability to move in the wind. Right. So it's anchored, we're grounded, but at the same time, on planet Earth, we have to be able to move with change, because change is the only thing that's constant. Absolutely. As much as we want to, as human beings, we love rigidity, we love repetition, we love habit, and the hardest thing for us is to change. I know, I'm a Cancerian. I love to be home. I hate to leave home, but we sometimes have to just be a little bit more flexible and go with the breeze.
And especially too as we get older, that, like,
Yeah.
you know, things change, things happen you don't expect, and just be. I like the image of the reed because I think that's really beautiful. But just be able to bend, and
Yes.
things just make the best of what things are, and make your life your own, right?
Well, Gabby Bernstein, who has a website and book about the universe has your back, that was actually her vision that I took yesterday in reading her site about the reed, and it resonated with me. Being a weaver and working with basketry materials, how beautiful a reed is. It's strong, but it's pliable and flexible.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great image. That's a great image. Wonderful.
Could we go out on a question from the audience?
Yeah.
So Debra, tell us a little bit, where did this start? You have a good childhood story about your creativity.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Well, I had wonderful grandparents, particularly on my mother's side, and my sister and I would go there often. Grandma would cook for us the things we loved, and we would always go to the old-fashioned sewing machine and take out the button drawer. And then we take it to the living room and dump it on the floor and start playing. And my grandfather would say, "Oi, oi, they're making a mess." And my grandmother would say, "Be quiet, they're being creative." So that runs through me. And so there's no such thing as a mess. It's part of the creative process, and you can't take that away. And I found through all my education that education seemed about intimidation. This isn't good enough. This isn't the way you do that. You know, they would take a drawing off the wall and step on it to make you whatever. And when I finally got to graduate school at UC Berkeley, there was so much positivity and so much support that for the first time I realized that education wasn't about intimidation. It was about encouragement and being supportive. Mm-hmm. And that's finally at 22 where I got my courage to be who I was. I was always trying to figure out, well, I'm not, this isn't right. You know, I'm supposed to be this way. You know, an undergraduate, you kind of look at the ones who are excelling and you always put yourself down. It's kind of like what Nancy was saying before, the dancer, about how much baggage we carry. And as we get older, we get so much more trusting and we say, who cares? I am who I am and I love myself for it. Look, I got here. I'm surviving. I love my life. So I'm not like everybody else. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be like everyone else. Not if I could be happy being myself. And I think that's the bottom line.
That is absolutely the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Debra. It's such a nice note to end on, to think about, and really builds upon Nancy's message as well.
Yeah.
Thank you both, to Julie and Debra. Appreciate your time and sharing all that energy and talent with us. So I'll let you scamper off to the wild world of New York, Debra.
Thank you.
Thank you.